Ready? Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Thursday, October 7th, 2021 Walton County DRB meeting. Tim, announcements, please.
I think it's November 4th.
Yeah, it says November 7th, but you're right. It is. I just read what's in front of me. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Yes, November 4th.
Yes, thank you. Item number 5, Staybridge Suites Deviation, and item number 6, Staybridge Suites has requested that those two items be continued to the December 1st meeting. You will need a motion for each one. Oh, I'm sorry, December 2nd.
Second.
All in favor?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Yes. We have a motion for number 6.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, all right, let's see, brings us to agenda item number 1, which is minutes from October 7th, 2021. Any comments, corrections, or discussions? Or a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Okay, next up, item agenda number 2, Down Island Gulf Seafood Restaurant Building Sign. Tim?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Tim Brown with Walton County Planning and Development. This is a scenic quarter sign application submitted by Southern Signs requesting approval of a building sign measuring 24 inches by 96 inches for a total of 16 square feet on 3.378 acres with a future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use. It's located in District 5. This sign is compliant with the scenic corridor regulations. With that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record.
So noted.
And I'll take any questions you may have, or I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Anybody have any questions for Tim? Would the applicant like to speak? Say anything? You're good?
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
For the applicant.
Go ahead.
Or Tim, whichever. Somebody's gonna have to come up. Or Tim, you can stay right there, I guess. What's the lighting? Is it lit?
No, it's
Okay.
not. It's non-illuminated.
Okay, and how does the bottom part of that sign work? Is it, are the letters three-dimensional from that little white bubble thing behind it, behind the letters?
I'm Terry Akins with Southern Signs. That's a three-dimensional tagline. No, that's,
Meaning, do the letters
It's
stand
5
out
inches
from the
deep.
white backing of the sign?
yes, that's correct. Yes. Like the cross cut has there, it's 5 inches deep.
5-inch, but is box for just the top sign, or is that where there's a 10-inch box,
That's the raceway.
12-inch?
That's what the letters are mounted to, and then the raceway is mounted to the building.
Yeah, but it doesn't show two.
Shows two.
The tagline part of it, I understand the whole entire thing may be 5 inches deep, but do the black letters stand out from the white portion?
Yes, they
of
stand
it?
out a half an inch.
Half an inch?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm just going to be frank. This is just my opinion. It does meet code like this, it appears. I want to say this in a very positive way. I think this is a very classy looking building, very. I don't know how my fellow board members feel, but I've driven by it, I can't help but notice, and it's just really beautiful. And the top part of the sign is perfect. I love the way it looks. I think this sign would fit better with the architecture of the building if the bottom part didn't have that white bubble part behind it. And since it's not lit, I'm just not sure what that's even adding to the sign, but that's just my opinion, my suggestion.
It's built the same way as a lighted one, it's just there's no lights in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it would look so much better if those black letters were just kind of like the letters in Down Island above it. That same style, but that's just my opinion. I'm not terribly hung up on it. I do think it will look better overall on the project.
I have a question. Is the big giant billboard going to stay?
I have no idea, that's owned by somebody else.
Hopefully not, but
Bad.
yeah.
The answer is yes. He would love to get rid of that because
Yeah.
it's right in front, but yes, it's going to stay. There's too much money involved to get it removed.
Yeah, I think Tim, did the owner come to us months and months ago? I seem to remember.
It's been a while when this came through, got it approved. It's been,
Because I think he stated then he would love for that billboard to go.
he did,
Yeah.
he did.
Any other questions, comments?
Guess I just had one question. Do they have plans to add lighting, whether it be auxiliary, like not integral of the signage? Is there any?
I
plan for
don't know,
lighting,
he's working with a budget.
or- Okay.
That's really why it's not lighted.
Lee, I understand your comment. I as well prefer true, like, freestanding letters. In this situation, the main text is freestanding, on a raceway. While I would prefer it, it's simple enough and classy enough that I don't feel strongly enough that I would be against it.
It's a nice looking sign, it really
It
is.
is.
Yeah, I don't think it's not nice looking, the sign itself. It's just, for this project, I think that would be better. But like I said, I'm not terribly wrapped around the axle about it.
Working on a monument sign, but that kind of fell by the wayside.
I sort of like the simplicity of the letters too. I mean, I think it's classic. Bubble.
I guess the question is this sign in production already, or would there be the possibility to let those letters freestand?
No, it's in production.
Already in production?
Since it meets the code.
Much if they put like light fixtures and to light it up, sort of like the, it wouldn't be.
Well, they've got a nicely lit sign right in the front yard there that's huge.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't think
I
anybody's
don't think they're
gonna
worried
miss 'em.
about lighting the wall
No.
sign.
Well,
No.
I don't
never
think they
mind.
are.
I wasn't familiar with that, so.
Yeah, that humongous
bright.
billboard. But, no, I mean, I wondered that too, but my intent in asking, my point in asking the question about lighting was whether that white bubble thing was gonna be lit, and that's why they chose it. It's up to them whether they light their sign or not. I would, but.
You could actually light it with uplighting, it'd look pretty good.
Right. I mean, I don't think it would cost that much, but,
One light right above it that,
right.
but that's up to them. I just was wondering if that was the driving factor behind that bubble effect on the bottom line, but it's not.
No, that wasn't it, it all comes down to a budget.
Because the bubble is what is shown on the section, right? It's just bubble on the letters, or are those,
Yes, then you have raised letters on the face of it.
Is the white portion also aluminum construction?
Yes, it's exactly the same
Okay,
as a
so
channel
there's
letter.
no option for it to be backlit Lexan or anything like that in the future that we need to be concerned about? Because I think that's,
No,
so,
Part of the, yeah.
it's a standard channel letter
Okay.
setup.
with that said, I mean, I have no further.
Anything else for the applicant? And I guess any public comments, correct? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Motion to
Second.
approve.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item number 3, LifeStorage Watersound Building Sign Deviation. Tim?
Yes, thank you. This is a scenic corridor deviation application submitted by Eloquent Signs requesting an additional building sign on 2 acres with the future land use of commercial and the zoning of business park. It's located at the northeast corner of Serenoa Road and 98. Last month, you approved the LifeStorage building signs on the north and south elevations of this building. Now they want to add this sign for St. Joe on the east side of the south elevation, facing 98. I think I got that right. I think the other sign was on the west end. This is going to be on the east end. So that's what they're proposing, is this additional sign facing 98 on the east side of the building. And I believe it's, I don't know if it's exactly the same size as the other 2, but it's very similar in size.
Like the tower spot.
So essentially, they're going to have 2 signs facing 98, correct?
Yes.
One
and
that says Life Storage and one that says
Watersound.
Watersound,
And then they have one on the north side.
and on north side.
That says LifeStorage.
Right.
And it faces north.
Faces north, yes.
So I have the same question. I don't see anything about lighting for this sign, so it's not lit.
Double check my checklist here. Doesn't have a checklist. Here's the applicant. I'll let them answer that.
Hi there, Brianna Williamson with Eloquent Signs. This will be channel letters just like the LifeStorage ones were, so they'll be front lit on a
Front
raceway. Yep,
Is the raceway the exact same color as the building?
as the building,
face?
yes ma'am.
Okay. Why are we doing this? What was
You're asking why they're putting Watersound?
Jason Scarborough with St. Joe Company. So this was twofold, really. One, we envision having more life storages along the coast, maybe in PCB and Panama City, and the Watersound was going to kind of set this one apart. And then we have a large number of entitlements north of 98, south of the Intracoastal, to the east of Serenoa, and the bookend is Watersound Origins. So it was going to, kind of be a highlight or a gateway to let you know you have arrived in, the future town of Watersound. And with the building being 348 feet long, it's really long. It's got mature vegetation in front of it. It's got that inset in the middle that kind of gives the impression that it's 2 different buildings. And, with it being on that far east tower as opposed to the west, thought it was a pretty reasonable request. And I brought an elevation just to kind of show
my next question? Thank you.
Yeah, because
So the elevation wouldn't even fit on the page. You got the west end, that's where life we're at.
A question for Tim. Tim, this qualified for 2 signs because it was on a corner, correct? Okay.
and also,
Yeah.
what about the length? Does it qualify for facing 98?
Oh, they're asking for a deviation. We're allowed 2. This is a
Quick question, are the trees, are they in the DOT right away?
Yes, DOT came out and had some say on what we needed to prune when we were erecting the building, and we kind of dressed that whole facade up right there, yeah.
Okay.
But there's also landscaping that's within the property line. It's a thin strip, but it's
Right.
part of it.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's
Having
exactly
the-
what I wanted
That's what
to
I
know.
was wondering whether there was a sign allowed for a certain frontage, and then there might be
Yeah.
another length frontage.
Right.
Yeah, not with a building sign. With the monument sign, it's 1 every 400 feet. And this is a very long building. I don't know if you recall, but they got a deviation to go beyond the 70% width.
So I have no problem with the sign, and I think it's
I actually am too. I think it would balance out the building. And
just-
because you'll have kind of anchor signs on either end. I will say, just because we do get claims that, well, you allowed this for so-and-so, why don't you allow it for us? So here's my thought process, and as you know, I'm pretty much a stickler for sticking to the code as much as we possibly can. But what makes me okay with it are two things: what I just said, and the length of the building, and the fact that I like the balance of a sign on each end versus one end that faces 98, but also the fact that you could have put the sign on the western facade, and then you'd have two signs showing from 98. But you didn't. You have one on the north end, which is not visible, north
Right.
facade. So
Right, you
to
have to be exiting the Commerce Park to even
right.
see that
yeah.
one, yeah.
So to me, this is sort of like you just have two signs, you know,
Yeah, I think-
because
thank you.
they're going to be two visible from 98. Whereas in most cases, a third sign would have meant you had three signs visible from 98. So that's my reasoning, just for
Well, I
benefit
think
of
architecturally, what you said in terms of, since it's the building is set as symmetrical with those corner towers, that it would be, it doesn't balance if one has a sign and the other one doesn't. So, I mean, that, put that clause so that nobody else comes with another design type and they want to put two signs.
Jason, I got one quick question for
Yeah.
you. Is there a reason that they cannot use the Watersound font?
You mean the
The two-part, where water and
With-
sound have a little bit different font?
with the, no, they just decided to go with something new and fresh.
The only reason I was asking is because this building, the architect clearly divided that into two pieces. You see that
Mhm.
little reveal?
Yep.
And we're just kind of pretending that's not there with the signage, where like all the windows, have that.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it would give a reason to kind of take the separation of the water sound, separate it and let it, because we're trying to span the width of the building.
Right, yeah.
If not, if you were gonna do this, my only option would be to reduce the kerning of the text a little bit to, the D aligns with the edge of the windows on the right side, but the W is kind of coming past. Could you bring that in just a hair?
Just to where everything was contained within the outer edges of the windows?
Correct. Just
We
so,
can do
because
that.
right now
where
it's
it's
kind of,
centered.
it's a little bit off to the left side, if you could just center
Yeah.
that and,
And that may
Are
just
we looking
be,
at the same thing, I think, or?
I guess.
no, we're looking at what
Ours
was
is a
in
little
the
different
pack.
than
Yeah,
that.
that looks better.
Yeah, I think that's more accurate.
That one's more centered than the one we got. I think, if you could bring, right, see how close it is to the edge? If you could keep the same text size, but just change the spacing between the letters.
Letters together a little bit. I think that would be an improvement. Yeah, that's a good,
I think that's a really good point. Line between the two, awkward.
It's extremely, you don't really see it. I drive by this building, twice a day. That reveal really isn't
Why
very
was
much,
there
so-
the reveal? That's what
Yeah.
I'm, especially with the roof being so.
Yeah.
I guess they were just trying to break up the flatness of the front of the
I
building.
think
maybe?
so.
But
Mhm.
they did the tower, the roof
Yeah.
is, it is as a single bay.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, any public comments? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve with, on the condition that the spacing between the letters is decreased to bring the overall sign in on both ends, such that it's still centered on the tower.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, have a motion? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4, Botanic Miramar Beach. Tim?
Yes, thank you. This is a major development order application submitted by Core Engineering and Consulting requesting approval to develop 321 apartments with pool amenity, a 5,000 square foot convenience store with gasoline sales, a 4,209 square foot fast food restaurant, 16,544 square feet of retail space and associated infrastructure in 2 phases on 25.35 acres with a future land use of commercial and a zoning of general commercial. It's located in District 4. This is the golf garden. And let me go into a little more detail concerning the phasing. So you'll be reviewing and approving tonight is Phase 1, which is the apartments. Phase 2, they'll have to come back and go back through the process to get that approved. But it's a master plan community, so they're supposed to show us both phases. But basically, they're getting technical approval of Phase 1, conceptual approval of Phase 2. They'll have to come back and get technical approval of Phase 2. And we met with them earlier in the week, which resulted in some changes to the site plan for Phase 1, which they will go over. Currently, it may or may not affect Phase 2, and of course, we're not approving Phase 2, but just so you know, the changes they made for Phase 1 may also change Phase 2 in the future. So with that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, and I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Ed Stanford with Core Engineering Consulting. Appreciate y'all taking the time to hear this project tonight. Tim has presented the project pretty well. If you're not familiar with it, it is a 2-phase project, mixed-use project within a commercial land use and zoning. And so tonight, I want to make sure that we're focused on what we are here for, which is the apartments and the buffer requirements for the scenic corridor. On this map, and it probably is in yours as well, it shows the master plan and the big, obviously the focus of this center. The item that Tim is talking about with, there's some changes to Phase 1 would be commercial is going to look like. Those markets are changing all the time. And as soon as we get there, we'll be back here with facades, floor plans, elevation, colors, all the things that are required for the scenic corridor requirements. But the landscaping will be installed. The landscaping along Highway 98 right-of-way will be installed as part of the Phase 1. And as well as the road that leads back to the apartments. That being said, from a design standpoint and from a DRB and scenic corridor standpoint, we believe we've addressed all of the county requirements, but I do have the architect and the developer here. If there are specific questions regarding the facilities themselves, the apartments lie about 500 feet off of Highway 98. There will be the buffer along 98, as well as green space and buffer between the commercial and the apartments themselves. open to any questions you might have.
This might be a little annoying, but I do have one question about the commercial, just for future reference for us. Will you control the architectural elements of that, or the tenants?
They are very specific. I mean, this is my understanding of dealing with them, that they will not allow things that are not compatible or of the quality that their product is. So they own the commercial, and they will develop the commercial as they see fit. And no matter what, it's going to come through here, but in their, it's an expensive piece of property, so they want to maintain the quality of the development. I guess that's a short answer.
And just to be clear, the big retail component is now where the above-ground stormwater retention pond is, right?
Yeah, let me show you where this line delineates the commercial
Mm-hmm.
and the retail is just moved. So, again, this is placeholder. When we get there, we'll be back here. We'll actually go back through TRC at that time as well and get the approvals. So we're not, the only thing we're trying to get approved from a TRC perspective is make sure we have the right impervious surfaces, stormwater, and traffic, so that we don't have to go back through and get those approved. We know that we will be back here for all the other intrinsic things that are part of the development, including the scenic corridor. At that point, but the landscape buffer at that point will be installed, and so we will only be looking at really signage, lighting, all those things that go along with the commercial.
And there's a road that goes in front of the retention pond too, over to the exit for the apartments.
Yes, yeah,
Because
that's
that
for
road going
connectivity.
out is exit only for the apartments, right?
Correct. That's
Okay.
right. Yeah, this is a one-way here. From a DOT perspective,
Sure. Okay. Okay.
that's a right out. Eventually it might be a right in, right out, but at this point it's just a right out. Right now it's one way. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you don't have any signage as part of this
No.
presentation?
No, at this time, we don't have any signage. When we get to that point, let me put it this way, this DRB meeting is to address the macro issues with the building itself and buffers. And then when we get to the specifics of the signage, then we'll be back through here. And it may take us a little while, but, we'll do that during the course of the building, et cetera.
Addressing the lighting in the parking.
I think there's a photometric plan in here. Yes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
lighting has been prepared and reviewed by TRC. We don't have the lighting consultant here tonight, but we may be able to answer questions for you.
Well, our challenge on the lighting, I don't know if everybody else has this, but I can't read the photometric plan page of the plan because once I expand it large enough to see it, it's blurry. So my concern would be that if someone on your team can walk us through the brightness level around, I know there's some surrounding development here.
Well, we are about 200 feet from the closest house. We're about 100 feet from the property line in either direction. We have a 60-foot right-of-way to the to the east of this project, and we have a 60-foot drainage easement to the west of this project. There is no light trespass at the property lines. In fact, our initial lighting plan was changed because we had a higher pole mount. I think we had 30 feet, and we knocked it down to 15 feet as required by the Walton County TRC at the time. So I know that we've been scrutinized for that. I don't know exactly what the light numbers are off the top of my head, but suffice to say that it has been reviewed, and we did make the changes that were required at the time.
So, sorry. So Tim, I just never like approving something when I can't see the details. Did the TRC ensure that this met the Kelvin requirements of the scenic corridor standards and
Well, I did, yes.
whomever, someone?
It is very small when it's shrunk down, but yeah, I mean,
Read it at all.
they're meeting the 14-foot height, and like you said, originally it was 30 feet or something. They're meeting the foot candles at the property line, so they are meeting, and the Kelvins. They're meeting all of that, because I had to blow it up as well, but I mean, I could see that it was in compliance.
Yeah, we just can't from the version that we're working with. I couldn't read it. Could anybody else read it?
No, it was
Okay.
all blurry.
Just make sure it's not my computer.
And again, anything that's, within the first 400 feet, we will be back through here for lighting along Highway 98. So working with the county on this new road that is to the west of the property, and sharing costs associated with that infrastructure. Currently working with the DOT to construct a signal there as well. The county is going to be designing and permitting and constructing that portion of this project.
So does this project tie into that new road at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, their access is off that road.
That's correct.
Yeah, because that one way is basically a right out only,
That's correct.
is what they're showing.
Mhm. And that area may change as part of the Phase 2 technical review, but we don't have enough information on it yet. So no matter what we do, we'll be back here through the TRC and DRB process.
Any other questions?
Else has any? I have a couple. Your rooftop equipment, I can't see where it's dotted in here, but I do see that there's a parapet. Can you walk us through the screening of the rooftop equipment? It looks like there's a good bit of it.
Our maximum height for our building, or the tallest parapet, is at 49 feet, 1 3/4 of an inch.
Ma'am, will you
Yes.
introduce yourself real quick? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. My name is Anne Morege, representing Gahiber Lewis Associates, the architect.
Thank you.
So yeah, the tallest parapet for this project is at 49 feet, 1 3/4 of an inch. We were initially above 50 feet, but had to reduce that height. And with this height, and also the second parapet height is at 47 feet and 3/4 of an inch tall. Our roof line, or rather our parapet level, is at 45 feet and 3/4 of an inch tall. And with the condenser units being about 3 feet 6 inches tall, about 42 inches, that distance should well cover the depth of, the parapet should well cover the depth of the condenser units, such that you wouldn't be able to see them from the street. Unless, of course, you were probably in a helicopter or a very high level.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're supposed to be screened from all angles,
Yes.
not just the street. So I'll make that a condition of or like to make it a condition of
Okay.
One thing to
approval.
point out is that these condensing units are also located in the center of the building. Hidden by
Perspective
that.
from the street level.
I know, it's just, you would think that, but I've been amazed at how visible some things are on roofs that you wouldn't think are, so, or would be.
have anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Anybody else a landscape architect or designer?
No. I wish Kelly was here, but.
Kelly, yeah, I know. I always love her perspective on that. You know what you're doing there, don't you, Lourdes? You look all right to you.
Yes.
Lady in the leopard print.
Yes, I'll get there and, I won't forget them. Anybody else? Okay, any public comments? Anyone like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Please introduce yourself when you get to the mic.
I'm Lori Eccles, and I live back behind this.
Okay.
And I don't know anything about their lighting. I don't know anything about any of that stuff, but I know that they're wanting to build this on the last bit of green space we have in Miramar Beach. And I know that this road that they're saying is going to be off of Highway 98 to go back to their apartments isn't just going to be going back to Highway 98. I mean, isn't going to be just coming off of Highway 98 into their apartments. It's going to be coming into our neighborhood, and they're going to route 98 all the way back through a 40-year-old neighborhood around a Holiday that is already congested. So they're going to put a road at Driftwood, and then they're going to bring it around a Holiday. Anybody that has driven in Miramar Beach in the past, well, I would say in the past year, but now I'll say in the past 3 months even, we're done with having an additional probably 600 to 700 full-time cars coming off of a road into our neighborhoods and into that area. We're just done. We don't have any space for those. We don't have a place for 700 more cars day to day in Miramar Beach. And what they're also not saying is on the other side of where they're building has just been 63. Is it 63 or 36? 36. I knew it was one of them. 36 condos that are going in over there. We're flooded already in our neighborhood. And when I say flood, I don't mean a little bit of water. I'm telling you, we are flooded.
Yes, Steve. Yes.
I know it's not this kind of meeting.
Well, okay, then, if we save ourselves to be able to say. Well, I mean, I either
No,
want to
you can go
explain.
ahead and cut me off all you want to, but God's gonna deal with this anyway. I don't say anything else. I'm just saying, they didn't come prepared, and they don't, it doesn't even before.
The point that I was going to make, not to cut off any relevant testimony, but the scope of what this board is to consider is pretty well defined in relation to the scenic corridor guidelines. There are other public forums to speak at open meetings before the Planning Commission and the County Commission still ahead of us. But at this point, as serving as both counsel for the board and for the staff, I want to try to protect the jurisdiction of the board at this point.
All right, thanks. Yes, ma'am. If you would just keep it to the comments that Steve just addressed for the aesthetics of the board. Just please state
Hi,
your name.
Donna Johns, Johns. I too live right behind this development. I have a couple of questions. My first one is about the rear setback. That's going to butt up to county property. The county purchased 10 acres at the back of the golf garden. And so I'm wondering how much of a buffer there's going to be and what is going to be used to buffer that.
Okay. Yes, I can let the applicant address that if he doesn't mind.
This is the 10. There's another 2 to 3. You can see that actually we have 2 to 3 feet.
Mhm.
Should have been purchased. Do you know if it's going to be the closest house when when Coconut K is built right next to it? Do you know?
I'm not,
Not familiar with that?
well, I'm not privy to the
Well, I think it's probably going to be closer than that, because they kind of, one runs along the golf cart and the other one's, runs this way. So this is behind my house and this is next to it this way. The other question I had was about the DOT ditch that runs alongside of this. And it's a large DOT ditch that runs and dumps into the bay. And there's no filter in it or anything like that. And in the past, golf balls and everything else run in that ditch into the bay. People see them all the time. Lori Eccles lives on the bay. She saw them all the time. So my question is, that ditch could be a safety issue for kids or something. So I'm wondering how you are going to protect that
I think
ditch from the
that's-
neighborhood.
Yeah, I think that's something you need to take to Florida Department of Transportation, because we can't address that here at this meeting.
Well, isn't it part of, I mean, this runs parallel with it, this property.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, that's fine, if it doesn't fit in this.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and I think that's, oh, one more question, and I'm not sure if this is appropriate for this meeting, but what is the height of the apartments?
49?
Okay, and that's the total with everything, the parapets and all? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I make a quick comment for the benefit of the public and Ms. Eccles back there? I just want to make clear what Steve was saying in a little bit of a different way, is that, well, no, not nicer, just different. Our purview on this board is extremely limited, and we can't comment on or deal with or even make recommendations up to the Board of County Commissioners on anything that's outside of what's within our purview. So we can if we want to, I mean, it just doesn't work. That's how the, I guess you'd call it a charter, it's not technically, for this board is formed. So weren't cutting you off or disregarding anything you say. Your points are, important. It's just that we can't deal with it here. So that's what, but as Mr. Hall said, Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners, go. Do your thing. We just can't address those parts of your concerns.
And I appreciate it. Go Braves.
All right.
Any more public comments? All right. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion? Anyone care to make a motion?
I would just say, to the limited scope of our board and what we do, the structure itself, meeting all the setbacks, is a nice looking structure. I am not a landscape architect, but I'm looking at that, and they have the side buffer plantings. It's not just a single row of trees. It's well done. the plantings seem to be there. I feel like the applicant did a good job of addressing the rear setback. You know, a lot of that is natural, but they're clearly meeting what we're allowed to comment on. With that said, and seeing the lighting and everything there, and the changes that have been made to the lighting to reduce the impact on residential areas. You know, that is what we're here to do, and I feel like they are meeting all those. No one has anything? I would make a motion to approve.
Did you want to add in the rooftop units?
Oh,
to the
yes.
motion
Do you
as a
mind adding
condition?
a condition that the rooftop units are not visible from any direction?
Correct.
At ground level?
Motion
Not from
to
a
approve
helicopter.
with the addition that the, all rooftop equipment is not available from ground level on any side of the project.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Does anybody have anything else, additional business to discuss? Yes. Lead.
No.
Did a good job.
And Tim, I guess, is the county working on that 7th position that's vacant?
See ya.
I think that would help us with our quorum fighting.
Well, the problem is we haven't got any applicants. Because
I can't recall.
Kim Sutton would like to volunteer, but he doesn't meet the criteria because he doesn't live or have a business on Highway 98. So that's the problem. We'd certainly love to fill this position and have a full board, but we haven't been able to get any volunteers that meet the criteria.
Have you looked at past applicants? I think there were some affected property owner past applicants. There was a guy from Rosemary Beach at one point that was interested vacancies ago that I thought applied. It sounded like he would be great, but
Well, unless he lives or has a business on 98, he wouldn't qualify.
he worked for Rosemary. Qualifies him or not.
I talked to some people that were like down in Inlet Beach here, and I thought 2 of them had applied online. I don't know if we're trying to get people from different areas along there, though.
Well, I think that would be good.
I do
I
too.
don't
I
think
mean,
we want
I really-
everyone from Santa Rosa Beach or Miramar Beach.
I agree. I don't know if there is an affected property owner in the Miramar Beach area, but that would be, I think, a great addition to this, because like,
Well, when Donna was on the board, she's
Yes.
from Miramar Beach. She was the last one on. But I agree. I mean, I think if we can spread it across the county, that'd be great. Because different parts of 98 are, I mean, Inlet Beach is different than Miramar Beach.
Yeah.
All right.
Totally.
That's
Try to ask around too.
I've done it before, but I'll do it again.
I think this is the longest we've ever went with a vacancy, so I don't know what the issue is that we can't give up. Maybe because everyone's so buried in work,
Yes, yes.
But I don't think we've ever had a vacancy this long.
Gosh, that's a long time. Ooh.
A long time to have a vacancy.
Yeah.
Oh, also, County Commission has agreed to allow the boards, the individual boards, to utilize Zoom for public participation as long as they have a set of rules, which Steve is going to be working on for a number of the boards. But if you guys want to be able to utilize Zoom, you can do that as long as you adopt, they have to adopt it, right?
Not us. I'm in favor of that 100%.
So,
Yeah, I expect by your next meeting, we'll have a draft set of rules and regulations for our
Great.
So at least it gives an additional opportunity for people to participate. If they don't want to drive all the way to Freeport or, you know, whatever the reason may be, they can still participate in the meeting.
Already did.
Oh, okay.
They decided not to use Zoom, right?
Still? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, legislative only, not quasi-judicial items.
That's right.
Well, I just wanted to let you guys know because you have to opt into.
Tim, I got a question. What's the regulations on, it's on 98, it's recently approved, they're open now, and they keep 2 trucks parked out front with advertisement on it for their store.
Not allowed.
No go.
It looks junky. And it's there every single night I drive by and every morning when I go back and forth to take my son to school.
Only thing I can suggest is make a code complaint because they will not do an anonymous complaint. You have to give your name.
I figured, I didn't know if code enforcement would enforce that either, driving around. Probably because they don't see them during the day.
Well, it's an illegal sign. You're not allowed.
Oh, that's what it is,
to,
yeah.
Vehicular signs are not allowed. It's a prohibited
Is that
type of
the
sign.
prohibition on anonymous complaints? That was changed by the state, right? They prohibit that now. It's a local preemption issue.
Yeah.
Many.
Well, I think there's pros and cons. I think it might help with, you know, neighbors
Yeah.
feuding with one another. They don't want to give their name. They just want to do it anonymous and just mess with their neighbor. So it helps in that regard, but it doesn't help in others when, you know, someone has a valid complaint and we would act upon it, but they don't want to give their name.
And I know it's years ago, for years, our board, if we passed along a complaint within the structure of these meetings, it made its way to the code department.
Well, some of that still happens.
I
What
don't know.
happens in that regard is MAC is the complainant. Like Kelly brought up at the new Thai restaurant there, and they have those red awnings. So that was put in as a code complaint with MAC being the complainant. And
can you pass this along to Mac?
And today, well, I think it would be more effective if you called or emailed him directly.
Okay.
But just as a FYI, the new taco restaurant there next to or in with Sherwin-Williams, they're putting a roof on their outdoor dining. That was not approved. The outdoor dining was approved, but the roof was not. So we did the same thing. We made a code complaint with MAC being the complainant because we checked the plans and the roof was definitely not approved.
That little lean-to they made?
Yeah, Mike went out there and took some pictures and emailed them to me. Yeah, it looks really odd, kind of the way it really slopes. And of course, that whole patio is for alcohol sales, really what it comes down to, because you have to have so many seats to qualify, or maybe it's area, and they've already got their alcohol license because of it. Is that what it is, undercover?
Okay.
So anyway, just that worked the same way.
I think it might be helpful because we're already in a position to be hated by some, I think, targeted. Yeah, so then if we're lodging complaints ourselves to code, it might.
Sure.
That's why I
Agree.
suggest you email or call Mac directly, and he'll do the same thing. He'll be the complainant, but we want to police those things.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay.
Well,
Anything else?
While we're at it, then I guess I should talk to Mac. I don't think the landscaping meets the plan at the Habitat for Humanity restore. It seems really tiny out there. it, which I don't enjoy picking on nonprofits or churches, but be consistent, so.
Yeah, I haven't been out there. I haven't seen it since they finished it and it's opened.
It's all really small
All
plant
small,
material.
low.
Yeah, the scenic corridor requires, in some cases, 4-inch caliper trees.
I'll let Mac know about that.
All right, anything else? All right, we're adjourned.